All right,
Master,
welcome.
choose a destination.
Go ahead, Dwips.
As I told you, the sea is my element. You haven't got a chance.
Right, yeah, sure, whatever. I love how Mako looks, well, okay, unlike everyone else, Mako's name is the same, and he...
Well, actually, a lot of them...
It doesn't... Much like a couple of characters, particularly from the other campaign, he's not really based on a pre-existing character.
Yeah, Mako is actually not
so
based...
the idea that he actually came from the future,
That's
too?
that's the thing, Jova. This particular, like Taylor just said, Mako is not based on an actual historical English figure, but even the ones that are based on them still have their names somehow. Like, for example, like we've said, Yugi is based on Henry Tudor, aka Henry VII, but he's still named Yugi when you select him. Like, they claim that, oh, it's Henry Tudor, but he's, oh, please, Henry Tudor is too formal. Please call me Yugi. And I'm not just like, what? And it's just like, okay, if you're going to, if you're going to have the characters play these historical figures, commit to it. Do what? Look at Muppet Treasure Island. In Muppet Treasure Island, you don't hear Captain Smollett saying, "Oh, Abraham Smollett is too formal. Call me Kermit." No, because they're actually playing the bloody characters from the novel. You know, for it wouldn't make sense for Smollett to now suddenly call himself Kermit. You know. But in here, they kind of have this thing where they want to have Yugi's name for brand recognition, I guess, but they still say Henry Tudor. It's just like this confusing, like they can't quite commit fully, I guess.
Well, anyway, my thing is like, Mako takes that a step further. Like, at least with the other Yugi characters, they have name changes and costume changes. Mako has neither a name change at all or a costume change, which makes me wonder.
To be fair, he seems to be having like a strap, which means he's technically more clothed than the original anime.
Mm-hmm.
I could have sworn he actually does have a strap in some seasons of the original.
I thought he was always shirtless.
No. Actually, in later seasons, he even has a vest and everything.
Check.
Okay, so as you can probably guess, and you've already realized, Mako's field is mostly water-based. So...
back in the day when, field spells always were a thing, but back in the day when you didn't need a field spell, it was just the very terrain that you dueled on that automatically.
That's because the rules of both this and Forbidden Memories are working on something that's a bit more similar to the first season of the anime, to the Duelist Kingdom season. You know, that's the reason why. So basically, if you have any water-based monsters, make sure to use those. In the meantime, as always, I'm gonna get rid of those free magic cards since I don't need them, I think.
Anyway, I checked that it's a bit of A, a bit of B, Jova, because while it does have shirtless scene for a lot of times, Mako's standard outfit does have some clothing, but it's not really a strap, it's more like of a simple jacket without sleeves, basically. So
hence why I said a vest.
It's still different from this one, where it seems that he's having, a traditional, fisherman pirate outfit properly fitting for the time.
All the same, though.
Let me see if I can actually pick an artwork for this. Go on.
That's the thing, though. Like, honestly, strap or not, you could. Okay, it doesn't feel like a substantial enough change that I couldn't just see this as Mako literally pulled from the future one. Now, like, I wonder if that's what they're going for potentially.
Not really. Remember, it's not like they're saying that you are the only character who actually, hail from the future. The others are just, the characters from this particular era who just so happen to resemble, characters that you as a player recognize maybe from the anime. Remember, this is still both this and Forbidden Memories apparently are in their own canon anyway. So bending the rules to make things different from what we are accustomed to from the traditional, story is not too much far-fetched.
It's just such a weird thing to do, but I guess to be fair, he's technically more like a side character who we're literally just doing to get here. My guess is that he shows up in both campaigns, given how he seems to be of a neutral party.
Alright, That little thing that you just saw, that's an ability from his deck leader. But don't worry, fortunately I have stronger cards than him, so we'll be fine.
Talk to the hand.
So yeah, this monster stole King Triton's trident, I guess.
So beat him up and go get it.
Right there. And that's it. I do commend the idea of trying to have a 3D model in animations for every single one of the monsters. Although I will say that it's not quite as it doesn't quite do it as well as Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2.
Okay, I think I thought I mentioned a couple of parts ago, but a couple of companies were experimenting with this. Atlus was doing basically the same in Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, where all the monsters were being sprite until that point, actually had proper 3D models, animations, full moves, and even some voice clips to boot. I mean, even for the original release. So it was kind of ambitious at the time for developers to try to incorporate this kind of thing.
All right.
There you go, Joe. In the meantime, there's the artwork. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be a full-on artwork, but you can tell that it's again not really based on its original one, because aside from the strap, it does have that shark teeth, necklace that he doesn't really have in the original.
I sworn he had that in the original. God,
let me give you one comparison.
Wait a minute. I mean, okay, when it comes to Mako, Mako's had a few design changes across the series, which, to be fair, every character technically did, but with Mako, they were definitely the most drastic with how he changed over time, so... Oh, yeah, okay, so he did have a necklace of some kind, just not a shark necklace. Like, with Mako, I'll admit, his designs tend to blur a bit for me in trying to remember them. Like,
honestly,
even his original one in the Duelist Kingdom actually is not too different from his more current one.
Honestly, Mako has always been, of all the side characters, the one that's the most forgettable to me. Like, they try to give
talking about the design.
Oh, sure. They try to give him that sympathetic backstory in the Duelist Kingdom season, but we never get any actual payoff for it. It's just there.
Not to mention,
by the time we get to season 2, it's completely forgotten. It's never brought up again.
Not to mention, it's one of those weird cases that GX also would love to do, in making a character that's literally almost the transposition of an existing card. In this case, the legendary Fisherman, and for no real reason to boot. In this case, they justified it by saying that he got inspired by that, but it still comes off as odd.
Let me elaborate on that, on what I said. See, here's the thing, technically when Joey fights him in the Battle City tournament in Season 2, they too technically bring it up because they say that the legendary Fisherman card reminds him of his dad and everything. The problem is, even though that's like super special card to him and reminds him of his father, he still gives the card to Joey for whatever for that. And Joey's even hesitant in it, to be fair. But not to mention, like I said, okay, here's the thing, Mako. You said in the Duelist Kingdom season that you were going to continue searching for your dad because you're convinced he survived, because you have reasons to believe that he survived. So what are you doing fighting here in the Battle City tournament exactly?
Okay, I forgot exactly. What was the price that Kaiba offered?
There is a money price, to be fair, yes.
Okay, to be fair, Mako...
I guess.
Mako is definitely someone who needs the money. Like, and honestly, money prize, that one's easy and all that.
I guess.
Shame about the whole, Shadow Hunters, but...
Rare Hunters.
Yeah.
Rare Hunters, sorry, I forgot.
Well, it depends, Theo, because in Japan they're actually called ghouls. It's just that Fork has decided to rename them to Rare Hunters.
But again, the whole character that essentially is based onto a card will spiral really out of control in GX when we have multiple characters who are literally cards coming to life, like Jinzo shows up early on, and then there's Don Zalug, which in the 4Kids stuff it gets given a Christopher Walken impression, and I'm like, why?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait. I actually kind of like that.
So there you go. Meteor Black Dragon is literally a meteor in his attack.
I mean,
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, of course. I mean, why else would we call Meteor Black Dragon?
Oh no! Just drops like that.
Oh God, he's dead.
It's okay, Job. It's just a hologram.
I'll admit, I do love how while the holograms technically aren't lethal in GX, they are still very capable of hurting people to the point of literally shooting a guy in the balls.
They have the same attack power too, so they kill
I
him.
was checking. Is that an ability to change line? I forgot.
Remember, Teo, different rules. This game operates completely on its own rules. Don't bother trying to inject real-life card game rules into this. Like the game is the game is going off its own merry way, Teo. Don't bother.
Yeah, I should have known because in the for both the TCG and the OCG, Chain Slime is a pathetic level 1 with 400 attack and 300 defense.
Yeah.
And yet it is with that card.
This much.
Remember, Teo, in this game, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon can be summoned like a regular monster. Like the game.
No. What I mean is that what kind of ruling specifically boosted up the attack of Chain Slime this much? Because the terrain alone usually works on a 500 basis, so it should be a thing, but not that much.
Well, I don't know what to tell you, Teo. I forgot what it was. Maybe I'm pretty sure there's a reason. It's just that I didn't bother checking. There's already a lot going on in the duel to make these parts long enough, so I just, like checking the effect for every single card the opponent plays would be a bit too tedious, probably. The point is, if something happens, but don't worry. If you can always check the effect of each card every time. So I'm pretty sure if you go check, there's actually a reason. Or maybe I forgot. Like earlier, we just saw him play a magic card that rose the attack of his monster, so that might also have to do with it. All right. Fortunately, I do have water monsters in my deck, so I can take advantage of that. But we're not gonna do that just yet. For now, let's attack this monster. Oh fuck! Once again, they kill each other. Let's just skip.
Destruction.
Let's just skip that. There you go. They both.
For reference, because I do know about that monster, many think Black Shark is easily one of the worst fusion monsters you can get.
In this in this game, however, it's a pretty damn good water-based monster.
Yeah.
So.
I guess there is some revaluation for in a game like this for cards that otherwise would be garbage. But mind you, this game was released where the game was still in its infancy, so it was still more experimental, but then actively trying to fix what some of the cards that would have been otherwise bad.
Fun fact: I found while I was doing some minor research regarding this game, I found out on YouTube that there's apparently someone who was at one point. Made some early progress of a potential PC remake of this game, where the guy basically was using the assets that he ripped from the PS2 disc, and he was trying to recreate the game entirely on I think it was Unity Engine. I forgot what it was. He didn't. Eventually, nothing came of it, but it was. But it's interesting that somebody would bother to try because. If someone were to remake this game, definitely come up with some way to get cards in a more efficient manner. Like that alone is the only real problem that this game has. It's a huge problem because it single-handedly destroys.
Also, arguably the slow pace. A speed up button would actually probably also helpful.
I mean, considering you can skip the animations, I think that's fine. The way it is.
When this game came out, I don't recall seeing much complaining about the card grinding on game packs about it, so I do wonder if it was really that much of a problem, like, I don't know, maybe
Well-
people got better draws on it here and there.
Well,
or
Joe,
found good card setups that helped them not have to grind as much.
oh, well, sure, Joe. I mean, I can only talk to you about the experience I have playing this game, and
Oh, I know. I'm just trying to rationalize it all.
Oh, sure. Well, here's the thing, Joe. Back in the early 2000s, I guess, like a lot of us back in these days, we played these games as kids, so we, of course, were much more tolerant to this kind of bullcrap. It is very possible. Let's face it, the target audience for Yu-Gi-Oh! Games was, let's face it, kids who grew up watching the anime, who were watching the anime back in the day, right? So back in the day when we were...
I will... Sorry, go on.
When we were kids
well-
and preteens watching the anime, of course, I mean, we were a bit more lenient towards these things. As adults, we have more critical minds. Go on.
Okay, let's be honest. If there's one show that definitely did its job in selling its merchandise expertly, it was Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh, sure.
Because you just know, part of the appeal was feeling as awesome as the characters do when they make that draw in the card games back then. Whereas nowadays, if you know how to do it right, you can potentially set up a deadlock in 3 turns with a deck.
That's still too much, Jova. Like, the meta is sped up so much at the point where if you don't have a consistently decent presence on field on your first turn, you might as well throw off the duel.
Yeah. Who else had experiences of
Although-
getting a deck, entering a tournament, thinking that they were going to go for it well, and then just getting destroyed by somebody who literally can end you on the first turn unless you have a good counter?
I can't speak for your personal experience of the early 2000s, Jova, but for me, it's like one of the interesting things about, let's say, the GBA Yu-Gi-Oh! Games is that GBA emulation was basically nearly perfected very, very quickly. To the point where even before the console was retired, we already were basically at the point we could just not even bother buying a game, just get the ROM and use Visual Boy Advance to play it. I actually most of the when it comes to the GBA Yu-Gi-Oh games, I play them via emulation, so I always just gave myself good cards via Game Shark, just to avoid having to collect a lot of booster packs. So of course, when I played those games, like for example, Sonic Advance 3, for example, I never actually bought Sonic Advance 3. Why? Because by the time Sonic Advance 3 came out, Visual Boy Advance was basically at a point where it could run everything. And very smoothly and with no real major issues. So so I just played Sonic Advance 3 on the emulator, and yeah, it was fine. So combined with Game Shark codes that people that would just put on the internet, yeah, it was just very convenient and allowed you to use Game Shark to cut down the grind for these kind of stuff. As for the PS2 stuff, that was a whole nother topic because
All right.
You win.
Yeah. Whatever.
You suck, so you're demoted.
So yeah,
Let's see which cards you get.
Shark.
it's
Good.
definitely an improvement over the previous game. We would just get 1 card per win, but it's still only 3. It's not that big of an improvement, but
You get triple.
I guess I should be thankful for small favors. I guess. Go on, Dibs.
Ah! You're something else. I never dreamed I'd lose a duel on the sea.
Maybe you should actually get some better cards.
I guess a promise is a promise. I'll deliver you to the shores of Bologna.
Bologna.
Boulogne, it's right.
Bologna, but
So
whatever.
yeah, time to invade France.
Oh.
Typical of the British.
Success. You've entered France, and our first opponent is
Pegasus?
nope. Joey.
Oh.
Joey is
That
at
armor.
Or
Joe-
Amiens.
Joey is actually based on Christopher Urzwick. I think it's
Apparently a priest.
yes. So Joey is a priest in this version.
You're a Kobe.
Well, okay. So the rest of this part is me trying to prepare a deck for so we can battle Joey properly. So in the meantime, let me. Yes.
But
Joyce.
okay, Joe. So Pedro, we're on Kyber's side. According to Kyber, Joey's useless, so we shouldn't need that much preparation.
Well,
You know, Kaiba still doesn't like to admit that Joey actually was winning that one duel with Merrick, which, mind you, included Kaiba, which meant that Kaiba was losing to Joey that day.
anyway.
So, I wouldn't exactly always take Kaiba at face value on that stuff.
Yeah, but yeah, like Teo said, Christopher Erswick, aka Joey, was a priest and confessor of Margaret Beaufort. For those who forgot, Margaret Beaufort is Mai. So yeah, they do make it so that he's a confessor to Mai. It's a reference of them being kind of into each other. He was rector of Puttenham, Hertfordshire, and later Dean of Windsor. Erswick is thought to have acted as a go-between in the plotting to place her son, Henry VII of England, on the throne. So yeah, it is once again going with how things are. So yeah. So basically, Mai got Joey to aid in the plot to put Henry VII of England on the throne. Okay.
I wonder what that may have entailed.
This was before. This was for not just Henry VIII, but also the all Lutheranism reforms. So technically speaking, Joey in this case should have been a Catholic, aka having a vote of chastity.
Like that would stop him.
Look at this, he was the Dean of York from 1488 to 1494. So
the Dean of York, and Joey's from his accent at least is from New York.
Yeah.
Actually, no, New Jersey shit.
No. His accent actually is New York, Brooklyn specifically.
Yeah.
I guess I still.
His career is kind of interesting because he had a shit ton of positions. Look at this. He was the Archdeacon of Wilts, then he was the Archdeacon of Richmond, then he was the Archdeacon of Norfolk, then he was given the prebend of Chiswick in St. Paul's Cathedral. Then he was the Dean of York, like I said. Then a canon of St. George's Chapel, Windsor. And then he was the Dean of Windsor. And then he was Lord Almoner from 1485 to 1495. After that, he declined the position of Bishop of Norwich and was collated Archdeacon of Oxford. Jesus Christ, this guy changed careers.
Maybe he just got a ton of promotions.
I guess. Go on.
Anyway, Dweebs, how is that city that Typo's pronounced? Puttenham?
Puttenham.
Okay. Just to know.
Among his more important positions, Erswick became rector of the parish of Hackney in 1502, where he ordered a medieval parish church to be rebuilt. St. Augustine's Tower is the only remnant. Okay.
Nice.
So basically, Dwebs, he's the one that ordered the parish church to be rebuilt. So there you go. Thanks, Joey.
You're welcome.
He appears as a minor character in Shakespeare's Richard III. Well, makes sense. Yeah. Oh, he founded the Erswick School for 12 poor boys and was until recently called Hackney Free and Parochial School in Hackney Central. The Erswick Chantry in St. George's Chapel commemorates him. Okay, so basically he's an historical figure that's still celebrated to this day in England. Okay.
Neat.
Okay, is this stuff from War of the Roses brought up in school in England, Webs?
Not the ones that I was at.
I can tell you that we were actually being told, at least in a brief capacity, about it.
Our
main theme was more focused on the battles of the World Wars and 1066.
Okay.
Weird, because even over in history, we learned quite a bit about each country's history.
Mm-hmm. There's also this thing. There was this popular story. I don't know if it's actually based on there's this popular story written by Robert Louis Stevenson called The Black Arrow, A Tale of Two Roses, which is extremely popular in my country. But it's a story that talks about the War of the Roses, among other things. So it's the entire culture of the war is kind of slightly engraved in my country because of this, popular romance. No, romance, but popular book. but got several adaptations.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing stuff back to how crazy Yu-Gi can
Oh,
be.
we
Hey,
got
remember?
no hair or what?
Speaking of, hey, Bibs, don't do your usual role stealing thing, but bringing the stuff back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Anyone else remember that time when Yugi was beating Kaiba's ultimate Blue Eyes White Dragon by turning the heads to stone and cutting them off one by one?
Oh god, that was by far the most bullshit moment in the history of the anime. That was just like what
And
the.
yet,
I think
And yet
the attack the bully still takes the cake.
and yet Kaiba still wins because he threatens to off himself if Yugi
Yeah.
doesn't let him win.
And remember, it's also the same duel where Yugi pulls out another iteration of the golden arrow. which
Living
does
arrow.
Whatever, yeah, the living arrow, which does whatever they
Oh,
want.
that's the thing. The Living Arrow was a card that was made up specifically for doing Duelist Kingdom, and it never came back in the other season because because its purpose in the first season is so transparent. Living Arrow it always has a completely different effect every time Yugi uses it. It was literally the plot device card. Every time Takahashi needed to get Yugi out of a gem, Living Arrow, which does something different every single duel that he uses it. Like it's just like it was.
Forget if Living Arrow got a real life card counterpart.
No,
I think that certain card game people looked at that card and
Mind you-
even they threw their hands up in the air and just said no.
mind you, it is worth noting something that in recent years, both at least the previous one and this, both the OCG and the TCG are releasing specific packs called Animation Chronicles, which are adapting cards from the anime which had not been at this point, like say Dragon Roid from GX. For some reason, or the aforementioned Declaration of Rebirth. So stuff that we thought would have never been printed is getting printed. The Living Arrow, however, does whatever. It's still there and does whatever it wants for good reason. So
So,
we're probably never seeing it.
So yeah, join us next time where under the tutelage of Kaiba, we crush Jerry Wheeler like an ant.
Yes. See you then.
See you then.
Yeah.